What's up, people? Course here, coming at you with another Paragon deck build. Today we're going to be looking at the new hero Phase. She is a support. I love playing support characters. I usually get stuck playing support characters, so I'm super excited that we got a new support. Now I'm going to try to get a live stream in after this and get some games in with her. The Q dodge is going to be real, so we'll see how that works out, but stick around for that. So let's go ahead and jump into the deck build here. So for her, I started out with the Centurion. The reason for this overall is because the way that she's designed, she's going to be one of those characters that you have to deal with. If you don't deal with her, you will not be able to take down an enemy team. If the phase is good, that is, just because of the way her kit works. And as we go through this deck build and her moveset, we'll talk about that a little bit more. So I figured I would make her a little bit more tankier with the Centurion, because that'll be more viable than the damage or the attack speed. So that's my logic for that. Give her a little more health, make her a little harder to take down. Now, as we get into the consumables, I went ahead and filled them up. I went health potion, hunter's drink, mana potion, scout's ward, shaman drink, healer token. So we're pretty fat in the consumables right now. I usually start out pretty basic with health potion, mana potion, scout's ward, and as we get to the deck proper, I also have a dummy ward, the Lord's ward in there. So if you want, you might want to change this up. Sometimes I might go with just like a mana potion healer token, depending on how I want to play. But as of right now, we're just going to do a basic. Now, as we get down to the equipment cards, I already talked about my dummy ward. I make sure to keep those in my deck now, just so you have that vision up on the map. The Scout's ward is good, but you know it can be destroyed, so having that dummy ward up is very valuable, especially as you get to playing against higher level teams. I noticed that a lot of higher level teams are using the dummy wards. If you're down in like silver elo, bronze, you won't see it that much, but in the higher elos you definitely see the dummy wards, so it's worth having them in there. Now as we get down to the deck proper, I know the deck might look a little strange because I'm actually building some health regen, and we'll talk about that as we get into the deck, because I know not a lot of people are probably used to building health regen, right? But for her, I think it's very viable and it's very important. So let's go ahead and start with the throwaways. We already talked about the Lord's ward. That's going to be the dummy ward. So the Circlet of Health is the first throwaway that we'll look at. Now, they actually made a change to the Circlet of Health, so we'll talk about that. So the card gives you 30 mana, and the unique passive is the Health Regen Aura. It grants 2.8 health regen to yourself and nearby allies. Now, the fully upgraded version of this, it grants a global health regen. So it grants 2.8 health regen to yourself and all allies. Does not stack with any other global health regen. So that means only the support should really be using this. You shouldn't have this like on your gadget or something, or your Howie or your Greystone, whatever. It should definitely be on your support, your Deckers, your Narvaez, this chick right here, Phase, because you can't stack them. But it gives 2.8 health regen to your entire team. So this is a must-have now, I believe. The mana one is okay, but I wouldn't say that's a must-have. But this health one, you definitely want that, because that will just give your team that much survivability, that much more survivability. So you want that for sure. I equipped this with 3 basic manas just to give me a little bit of a mana pool there. I like that card now. I think I used to use it even before they buffed it like that, but I think that it's very viable now. The second throwaway card that I have is the Elder Mage Amulet. Now this one you can take it or you can't. It depends on yourself. 6 power, 60 health, 120 health once you fully upgrade it. Then I equipped it with all health. Now this card is optional. If you want it, by all means go with it. If you want to go straight into your quenching scales, go for that. The only reason I equipped this card is because it does give it a little extra health. Health did get a boost in this last patch. They're probably not going to be able to take down your carry unless they get some like some really good coordination going on. So they're probably going to go for you first, which is why I built a little bit of health in that early game. As we get into the later games though, I don't really build a lot of health on her. I have a little bit, but not a whole lot. So early game, I put a little bit of health just because it'll make you that much harder to deal with. But like I say, if you want to jump right into your utility cards, that is totally acceptable. Now as we get into the deck proper, we're going to start out with the card that we'll build first, which will be the Quenching Scales. So Quenching Scales right here, this is a card that I think should be in every support's decks, and even you know, certain casters that could use it too. Like I've seen Gadgets use it, that's pretty good. I've seen Rampage have it on him. So I mean, it's a very good card that can be fit into a lot of different decks. but definitely for support, it's a must-have. I would argue that all day. So this card gives you 60 health, 0.3 mana regen, and then the unique passive is the Mana Aura. Grants 0.6 mana regen to yourself and nearby allies. Now the unique active, and this is what I like. The team heal yourself and nearby allies for 225 health and grant 24 basic armor for 20 seconds. Allies can only use or benefit from team heal once every 20 seconds, which is why some people stack them on their team. They'll have, you know, 3 people with them. But now this card is excellent because it gives you that heal, right? It gives you that straight health back. So especially early game, it is a devastating card because 225 health when your carry only has 700 is really a big deal. So I like to build this card fairly early on. I may even build this over the Elder Mage Amulet if I don't need it. That'll give me a chance to go ahead and jump into my Quenching Scales a little bit earlier. So that's my logic for that card. As we go down here, the next card that I will build is going to be the Savage Remedy. Now this is a card that I thought I would never use, but on phase it's actually really dope. So the Savage Remedy gives you 30 mana, 1.4 health regen, and 2.8 health regen once you fully upgrade it. And I equip this with 3 heals, which are 2.8 regen each. Now the reason I'm building this card is because my tether target benefits from my health regen. So the more health regen that I build, the more health regen that my carry or my whoever's tethered will have, which makes them a very hard target to kill, meaning it forces the enemy team to be strategic. They have to figure out how they can get to the back line, how they can get your phase before they can get whoever is tethered. So you can send your front line in there, whether that be Kalari, whether that be Grux, whether that be whoever, and they can't really deal with that person unless they are very coordinated. They have to deal with you, which is your team is coordinated right, it's going to be hard to do because there's still other high threat targets on your team. But building that health regen will definitely make your tethered targets a very, very challenging opponent to deal with. So that's why I'm starting to build some health regen in this deck. Now, the next card that I will build once I have my Quenching Scales and my Savage Remedy is going to be the Teleblink. Now, I was thinking about going into a little more health regen just to make my carry or whoever I'm tethered more tanky, but at this point in the game, they're probably going to realize that, hey, we need to do something about that phase. They're going to send somebody in your back line to get you because they know they need to get rid of you in order to dominate a team fight, because with phase in there, it's not going to happen. So the Teleblink is going to give you the mobility you need in order to get away from those type of attacks. Because they're probably going to send somebody heavy to your backline, like a Countess, somebody who can hit you hard, that can one rotation you. So Teleblink is going to give you the ability to get out of there. It consumes 75 mana, so make sure you keep mana to do it. But it will blink you away. It gives you 0.3 mana regen, and I equip this with a chrono and then 2 basic sparks, so 0.6 mana regen and then 0.3 mana regen. So I like this card, but look at the unique passive for sure. Card cannot be used for 5 seconds after taking damage from an enemy hero, so keep that in mind. You want to definitely be aware of who's around you when you have this card, or it won't be as useful. So that's my logic for Teleblink. I was going to use the Stasis Gem, but I think Teleblink is going to be more beneficial overall because Teleblink, it can be used in more than one way. It can be used very versatile, while Stasis Gem, once you use it once, that's pretty much your hand. People can start to play around that a little bit. Teleblink, I think, is a little harder to play around. Now, the next card that I will build after that is going to be either Gift Range or Cast Converter. So that's completely up to you how you want to build those, and I'll show you. So Gift of the Rains is 0.3 mana regen and then 1.4 health regen and then 2.8 health regen once you fully upgrade it. And I equip this with 4.2 health regen. Now once you get this card built, that will be pumping a lot of health regen towards your tethered targets, which will definitely make them very hard to take down. So at this point, the enemy team is going to have to focus you before they can focus whoever is tethered for sure, or deal with anybody else on your team. Now, Cast Converter, I never used this card before the phase because I didn't see how it was really that beneficial, but now that she's in the game, excellent card. 30 mana, 0.3 mana regen, consume 175 mana to gain 47.5 health regen. Now, this card is amazing. I think I will build it last. I'll probably build it after the Gift of the Brains. But this card is good because it gives you that boost to health regen. On top of, if you cast a spell, you'll get additional health regen. So this card allows you to heal up your teammates super quickly, which will also make them very difficult to deal with. So that's why I'm going with the cast converter. I think this card is going to be very beneficial for her. I equipped it with 3 manas, which are 60 mana apiece. So I want to have her have a little bit of a mana pool because she's going to need mana to cast her utility cards here firstly, and plus she does use a little bit of mana with her ability, so you want to make sure you have a little bit of mana stacked up so she can actually use those. Now the last card in here, and this one you build when you see necessary, it's the Lord's Ward. 30 mana, 60 health, 0.3 mana regen, and more importantly, the Shadow Wards. Now, I'll probably build this card early on, but I won't fully upgrade it. So I'll probably take my Lord's Ward, but I won't upgrade it until probably later game. I usually take this around, I don't know, 7 minutes or so, 10 minutes for sure. Because the South Ward definitely, you don't want to keep that too long because people will start to play around that or just destroy it. So you want to make sure you have that Lord's Ward so you can take care of your carry, so you can take care of yourself. Now, that's what I have for her deck build right now. As I was practicing with it, it seems to be a pretty good deck. It seems to be doing the job. But we'll see what you think once you get in there, and I might change it up after I get in some real PvP matches. But as of now, this is what we're running, and it seems to be pretty good. Let's go ahead and take a look at her moveset. Alright people, so let's go ahead and take a look at her moveset here. So Pulse Bolt is her basic attack. It deals 53 basic damage. Thing to note here is as you level, it levels up with you, so you don't have to worry about that too much. It deals decent damage. You know, I don't think you'll be trying to auto people down too much. But if you do get into that type of fight, she does have decent damage. Now here's where her moveset gets interesting. So the Telekinetic Link, let's start with that. I'm going to read the description. So applies a link to targeted friendly hero. If targeted hero is already linked and no new hero is targeted, activating link will pull the linked hero to phase. While linked, phase's health regen is added to the linked hero, and activating any other ability will give her 30 health regen for 20 seconds. So I'm going to show some video clips of what this actually looks like, but a couple of things to note. So when you have a target linked, phase can pull people out of a fight, or she can throw people into a fight. Now, a lot of people were a little cautious about this because what if you get a trolley phase? What if she throws you into a bad engagement? What if she throws you into a tower? Whatever. Now here's the thing to note. If you are targeted by her tether, you can hit the recall button and it will break it. So if you feel like you have a trolley phase, which we're going to get, there's going to be some people that once we start losing games, they'll be like, oh, I'm just going to throw and literally throw you in the towers and whatnot. So you can actually break it by hitting the recall button. So make sure you make a note of that because that's going to be very important, especially during early games where Q dodges are rare, where people are salty. So make sure to keep that in mind. Second thing to note, while you have somebody tethered, whenever you cast an ability, you get bonus health regen, which means they get extra health regen. Now, if you need to top your carry or whoever you have tethered off, or if they're taking more damage than you would like, you can pop an ability like Psychic Flare or Energy Lance, and it will give them that boost of health. Now, you can do this on an actual enemy, you can do it on a minion, or you can do it on nothing at all. They will activate even if there's nothing there to hit. So sometimes when you're running down lane and you're just heading towards some minions, you might want to top your carry off. You might want to top whoever off, and that's a good way to do it. So keep that in mind. You can top them off. So it's basically like having an extra healing spell or something. So keep that in mind because it'll come in handy. To this Psychic Flare, this is an interesting ability as well because this is the first time the game has had a blind mechanic. So Phase blasts a flare of energy around her and her Link teammate that deals 75 ability damage to all enemies and blinds them for 1.5 seconds. Now this is very good because unless the enemy has some type of lock-on ability, they're not going to be able to see you for that time period, which would give your team time to set up some type of coordinated attack, or just give them the upper hand, or help you escape. You know, like you're still going to have trouble with Chimera or Obliterate from like Revenant or something, but anything that doesn't lock on, you have a good chance of getting away there. You know, I'm thinking of the Greystones, or maybe like Richter pools or something like that. Even still, you know, with his reduced range of his ultimate, you can probably get away using the Psychic Flare. So thing to note as well, you can pair this, or you can link it off of your tethered comrade. So let's say you send your Chimera in to, you know, jump on the enemy carry. You can hit your blind, and whoever's around the Chimera, they get blinded. And then of course if he ults, they get pushed away as well. So it's a good way to isolate a target, especially if you can coordinate it with your initiator, and blind the enemy team so they can't really come to the rescue of their high priority comrade, so like their carry, whoever it might be. So keep that in mind. There's different ways you can use this. Very excellent thing, very excellent ability. I'm curious to see how teams use this, especially like in the higher elos competitively, because I think there's going to be some good plays that be made with the Psychic Flare. Now Energy Lance, I was really surprised by this ability. First thing to note, the range is crazy, and I mean crazy. You don't understand what I'm saying until you get into a game and you're like hitting the dude from across his inhib, almost at his second inhib. Like the range is ridiculous. So Phase emits a beam of pure energy for 2.5 seconds. The beam deals 8 ability damage every 0.25 seconds, and for each instance of damage done at a -35 slow. If 8 stacks of slows added, then the target gets a 0.75 root. So basically, if you can hit this ability, if you can keep the Energy Lance on the enemy, you will root them. At the very least though, you're going to slow them down, which is good. Because Monolith, if you can slow them down, that's always great, right? But if you can snare them, then I mean they're basically dead. So as I stated earlier, this move has a very long range. So this can be set up to, you know, set up ganks for like the jungler. If you see them coming around, you might want to initiate with the Energy Lance because you can do it from a safe distance. This can also be used to finish people off because it has such a long range. I'm thinking especially like paired up with a Revenant or something, somebody who deals that high burst damage. It usually leaves the enemy with like 2 health, not an exaggeration. This is a good move that can finish those people off from a long range. Very good move right here. I'm hoping they don't nerf the range on that, because I think they need a character with that type of sniping power in a way. Even though it's not really a snipe, but with that type of range, because the only person that can do that right now is really Murdoch, right? And that's his ultimate. So I like this. I hope they don't nerf that range on here. I actually really like that. The last move right here is the Hyperflux. So this is her ultimate. It says Phase overcharges herself and her Link teammate with energy, giving both 80 attack speed, 50 cooldown reduction, and 75 mana for 8 seconds. Upon activating this ability, they will also both receive a decaying maximum movement speed boost. So so right here, this right here is so very versatile. You can use this in so many different ways. If you have, you know, like a carry with you, you might want to activate this just to get that boost to attack speed. Especially if you have like Sparrow with you, or somebody who really benefits from attack speed, just to deal that extra damage, get the extra movement speed to close in and end somebody. But also you have the cooldown reduction. So I mean that can be used for casters, that can be used for carriers, that can be used for whoever. But the extra cooldown reduction, especially for somebody who uses abilities like Countess or somebody, you know, just the burst potential right there is ridiculous. And the last one, the 75 mana. Let's say you have a caster who's heavy on mana, right? Let's say you have somebody who's just been destroying people. You know, you have a Gideon, or you have a Howie who's just been going to town and they're out of mana. You can use this simply to get them back topped off so they can stay in the fight. you know, your countess, whoever it may be. You link to them, you give them back 75 mana per second, boom, they're topped off, they go back in, they don't have to retreat, they don't have to go back to base. So this move can be used in very different ways, and I think that's awesome. So if I had to prioritize these moves, I would go like this. I would go Energy Lance first, then I would go Telekinetic Link, and then I would go Psychic Flare last. And after that initial like picking of moves, I would always upgrade Telekinetic Link before any of the other two, because I think this one's going to be the most beneficial. But at that early part of the game, I think you can get some good picks, some good ganks with the Energy Lance. So I would get this one first, and then I would go to Telekinetic Link. Now, as always, I'm always going to prioritize my ultimate over all of these. But once that's done, Telekinetic Link is going to be priority, Energy Lance, and then Psychic Flare would be the last. So that's what I'm thinking so far. We're going to get into some matches and see how it works out. We're going to do some live streams and see how it works out. If you like this video, make sure to go ahead and drop a like, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and let me know how you're building your phase. Let me know what you think about her. Also, if you got to get into a game with her, let me know what you think of her. Is she a good hero? Was she overrated? Is she overhyped? What do you think? As always, people, I appreciate you watching the video. This is Ors, of course. We'll see you in the live stream. Have a good one. Peace.